signs. Yes, I'm amazing. But not for me though, cause I am sick of waiting. I've been patient, I really haven't been reasonable. Now it's time to say what I needed to. This one.
All right, let's talk technology. And Matt Dickinson from Tech Talk, the podcast, is with us now, and we found him in Tokyo this time. Hello, Matt.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa to you too. I bet there's a lot of technology around you that you're just dying to tell me about from the Japanese.
Well, vending machines, of course. People are very well aware of the vending machines in Japan that seem to be everywhere. Officially, more vending machines per capita in Japan than anywhere else. And not just by a little bit, Nick. There is one vending machine per 23 people. Number 2 on the list is more than double. In America, one vending machine per 47 people. So yes, when people drive around, look around Japan, they think they see a lot of vending machines. They do see a lot of vending machines.
I love the Japanese vending machines, and they're bound to be more reliable than the ones that are always getting my packet of chips stuck at a train station in Sydney. Can we please get some more of that technology?
That's right. And anything, it just seems like anything you can buy at a vending machine, there's no limit almost to a vending machine. So quite fascinating. And of course, toilets. I can't talk about technology in Japan without mentioning the toilets. And I'm at the point now where I'm
with
looking,
the pre-warm seat, which would have been very good when I was living in Mittagong.
Absolutely, the pre-warm seat's nice, but the control panels seem to be getting bigger and more complicated every time I come here, and to the point where you're sitting there looking through the control panel, trying to find just something simple like flushing, and then finally you stand up and realise there's a good old-fashioned button on the toilet still. So the control panel does everything else, and sometimes it doesn't flush.
All right. Well, let's move on to some of the things you're talking about on Tech Talk. There's a couple on pets, actually, which is interesting. First of all, robot dogs for farmers.
Absolutely.
Are we seeing the end of the good old Australian Kelpie? What's the story here?
We might be seeing the end of the good old scarecrow, because this is more focused on getting rid of some of the birds that are attacking some crops. I didn't realise this, Nick, but there's a major problem with not enough hazelnuts in this country. So if we look at almonds, we've got 140,000 tonnes we produce, 70,000 tonnes of macadamias, 6,500 tonnes of hazelnuts. And one of the reasons is that farmers aren't liking the hazelnuts because the birds keep stealing all the hazelnuts. But now we've got, in combination with actually CSU down in Wagga, they've done a lot of work in agricultural research, but they've got a dog. Now this dog, robotic dog, will walk around a hazelnut orchard. When it sees birds coming, it'll stop. It jumps in the air, makes some noises. Not sure if it's quite like a bark, but something like a bark. And that's been good enough in their early trials to scare off the birds. And this might save the hazelnut crops of the nation.
Well, yeah, I know they tried to grow hazelnuts around the Riverina, the people that made Nutella, and they've sort of pulled out. And yeah, maybe if they'd had the dogs, they would have been more successul.
Exactly, and that does seem to be a big issue. Is just these birds keep attacking them. They love the hazelnuts, and that is making basically people say, well, I'm leaving this industry. I'll go and grow some other nut or some other crop. So this might be the saviour.
All right, and the other one you've got is cloning companions, pet cloning. What is the latest here?
It's unbelievable. Of course, we all know about Dolly the sheep, but you can now commercially clone a cat, a dog, or a horse, which I found fascinating that they're cloning horses. It's not too bad. It's only $50,000 US to get your favourite cat recloned or cloned. It's a bit dearer for dogs. I don't know the prices for horses. I imagine they're dearer again. You need to get some viable cells within 5 days of your pet's passing. Typically, they go for the ear. It's a very resilient tissue in the ear. They take that, grow it in a lab, go through the process with an embryo. At the end of that process, you've got an identical twin to your favourite pet. Now, the company that does this stresses that don't expect this clone to be identical, which sounds a bit crazy, but obviously the genetics are one part, but the experience of growing up and interacting with you is what makes the pet special to you. So it's not going to open its eyes when it's born and say...
nature v nurture.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It doesn't open its eyes and go, oh, there's Nick, my favourite Nick. Isn't that great? I'm seeing Nick again. It's, who is this strange person in front of me? And then you go through and build that bond again. And you're a different person in that second round of that same animal. So it will be a different animal because you'll be interacting differently. But people are paying this money, Nick, and they're paying it internationally. There's only this one company in the US doing it at the moment, but people from different countries around the world are sending in the samples of their ear, their animal's ear, and getting these clones happening and almost getting a replacement ready before their last pet, when it's getting a bit old, dies. So I just find this fascinating, Nick. A whole bunch of ethical questions
Wow.
there. How long before we clone Nick Ryanberger? That's the ethical question, I suppose.
There's not going to be a lot of demand for that, Matt, I'm sure. Not. And we'll stay on animals as well. Well, let's go to Antarctica and the latest with Antarctic penguin colonies and artificial intelligence being used by scientists there. What's the story?
It's a good example of citizen science. And we had this same example during a previous solar eclipse in America, where they encouraged people to take photos from various spots and upload those photos. And then based on the metadata, so you could know the exact time and the location they're taken, you could get images of the solar eclipse. They're doing the same with penguin populations. When people visit Antarctica, and there's a whole range of questions about whether humans should be going to Antarctica, but they are at the moment, and they're taking photos of penguins. And so now some researchers from Stony Brook University have got an AI tool that will allow you to upload photos, and then by analysing these different photos from a whole range of different people, taken at different times, different angles, etc., they can start to get an idea of what is the penguin population, how is it changing, what's happening, what needs to happen, because as temperatures change around the planet, we know that this is having a huge impact on different species of a whole range of different animals and plants, and obviously penguins are being impacted by this possibly more than others. So rather than scientists set up a bunch of cameras and go to all the expense of having a whole range of different photography going on, they're allowing citizens to do this and be part of some sort of citizen science. So I think that makes people feel a bit better about visiting Antarctica, but also just a huge amount of data that AI can then analyse.
All right. Well, all those stories and more on Tech Talk, the podcast. Matt, always good to do it, and we'll chat to you next time. Thanks a lot.
Arigato.
Matt Dickerson in Japan here at ABC Illawarra Mornings.